And render. Yes. Oh my god, I'm done. Time for a victory olive. I'll enjoy this. Oh my god. I must have fallen asleep at the keyboard. Wait a minute. Ah, son of a... Hey guys, it's me, Shinobi Nando, and welcome to another review. Today I'm doing ReZero, The Prophecy of the Throne. I'm a bit late to this review. I'm not gonna lie, my collector's edition got delayed because of Brexit of all things. So, Spike Chunsoft were very nice. They reached out to me after the game's launch and they supplied me with a code for the Nintendo Switch. And there you go. There's my excuse for why this review is so late. Plus, if you're new to the channel or this is the first time seeing me, I tend to be really thorough when I play a game. So now that I got my excuses out of the way, how does this game play and what is it? Basically, it's a visual novel. You get to replay events from the anime ReZero, and while Prophecy of the Throne does add in some new characters and some new plot, they perhaps played it a little too safe and stuck a bit too close to the anime for my liking. The story of Prophecy of the Throne is essentially the story of ReZero. It takes place after the second arc in the light novel, you know, the one where Rem keeps on killing him again and again. The game opens up right after the Ma Beast attack, where Subaru has saved the village with the help of Rem, Ram, and Emilia. And for once, it's almost, you know, I don't really have to give a spoiler warning. This game basically follows word for word the plot of the Return to Capital City arc. And for the love of God, whatever you do, unless you've not seen the anime in a long time, don't make the mistake I did and recap what the events that just happened. Because, yeah, that really drags on. Anime flashbacks are already bad enough, let alone in visual novel form. While some events do differ as new characters such as Sakura and Tiga are introduced, they don't really start affecting the plot until much later in the game. Well, that's not entirely true. There is some further deviations early on in the game, but they don't really make much of a difference to the overall plot. Tiga basically replaces Wilhelm as the messenger that lets Subaru and gang know that the royal selection is going to begin in the capital city. This is the definitive or extended or director's cut of the Return to Capital City arc. Things pretty much play out as they do in the anime, with some slight twists due to the introduction of Salem, Tiga, Sakura, and Melty, the sixth candidate. Unfortunately, because the game sticks so close to the anime, any hope of any mystery is kind of thrown out, as instead of 5 candidates, there are now 6, as I just previously mentioned, and the whole subplot is one of them is an imposter. Guess which one is the imposter? Did you choose the purple-clad new girl that doesn't appear in the light novel or the anime? I would have much preferred if this game kind of deviated kind of as a more of a filler arc, maybe. It's never going to go too far away from the light novel and anime, but like other anime games do, they often include kind of a side story, kind of an explanation of where characters were or what happened to them while they were traveling, instead of trying to run parallel or intertwine into the main story arc. Don't get me wrong, I really like the new characters, especially Tiga. They're brilliantly voice acted, they're likable, and their overall story is enjoyable, especially if you're a ReZero fan. It's like I said, it's just a shame that the mystery was lost immediately. Guys, I can't emphasize it enough. This game is railroad so hard by inserting it into a pre-existing arc. Yes, as the game continues, things change, but overall, the game also has to deal with the fact that it has to kind of course correct back to the standard arc every time it deviates even a little bit in order to get the story going. On top of that, that also really affects gameplay. This is going to be a really hard section to talk about. I'm not going to lie, this can be pretty difficult. I wasn't expecting combat. That's not Subaru at all. Now, Spike Chunsoft did create a kind of interesting mini game slash overworld where you control chibis of the characters. When you're Subaru, this normally happens before you have to make a large decision. You can go around, talk to characters, gather information, and then make your decisions. But they're kind of arbitrary decisions. I mean, I found that even if you don't choose anything, if you say, oh, no, never mind, you can pretty much pass the missions, no problem. In fact, the characters will tell you what to do or what information you missed when you should have been gathering it in the actual mission itself. Yes, it will waste some phases, but overall, the end result is the same. It's kind of weird as well, because of this chibi overworld actually has like combat animations and sprites. So I was really confused. I thought maybe it would be more like a tactical RPG where I was just basically commanding Rem and Emilia and anyone else who could fight for or on the behalf of Subaru. Instead, they try to really capture the fact that Subaru is just useless in combat, but can do sneaky things like barricade pathways, set traps, give hints and clues to his teammates at what abilities or who they should attack first. These are very far and few between. I think there's about one mission per loop. I should probably explain that. Now, the game is broken up into 5 loops. This is every time that Subaru canonically, in the terms of the story, returns by death. You can return by death during the missions and in earlier parts, although it kind of does break the canon. Just like the anime, Subaru will retain most of the information he picks up or items, and you can basically redo the missions. The missions themselves are broken up into phases. They have a fail state, whether it's get captured, Subaru dies, the person escapes. It's up to you to complete your mission before all the phases end, which are basically your turn and the enemy's turn. And each phase basically consists of Subaru's action and then the other characters. That is the only thing that really gathering information and discussing with your teammates the information you learn from Return by Death actually affects is how quickly you'll be able to complete the missions. Even if you don't give them any specific instructions or claim any of the bonuses and the game's turning points, this is kind of the game's briefing and information gathering section before one of these overworld missions. It only really affects how quickly you'll complete the mission, as yeah, Rem will tell you, oh, by the way, you should do this. Anastasia will let you know, oh, you can block the pathways with the cards. So yeah, it will save you a phase or 2 out of 20, but there's even a trophy on the PlayStation version for never disclosing any information and just going, no, never mind. Now guys, I'm not an idiot. I know this is a visual novel, but what I at least expected, especially in the sections that are unique to the game, was some more dialogue options. Now, from what I can tell, and as I said in the beginning of the review, I was pretty thorough. That's why it took me about 20 hours instead of the normal 10 to 15 to beat this game. It's pretty hit and miss what actually does affect anything. It also really doesn't help that other than a select few missions, the characters actually don't have any combat models. The visuals of this game is beautiful, and so it should be. It is a visual novel. The new character designs are phenomenal. Tiga, Melty, and Salem fit right into the ReZero universe. I bet a lot of purple. Tiga being one of my favorite, and I'd actually love to see people cosplay him with his like little bowler hat and his purple like servant suit. Look at him. Look at that dapper fellow. However, the game made some really odd decisions. Going back to what I was on about earlier about it sticking so close to the anime, there are large sections where it word for word goes over this exact same thing in the anime. I don't know why this couldn't be a cutscene, or seeing as they have the license, actually using snippets from the anime itself to make this more entertaining. There's only so many times I can watch them do the same animations again and again and again. This game is really kind of like watching a motion comic or reading the light novel while listening to an audiobook. And in fact, you might even find that more enjoyable. While I understand that obviously they could have had budget constraints and other technical issues preventing them from creating new cutscenes, specifically for the Prophecy of the Throne sections, if you're gonna retell the anime and you have the license, why not use the anime snippets? The worst still was when the combat took place during the story sections. It was basically two still images, PNGs, kind of smashing into each other with maybe an odd transition effect of like a chain or a fireball or ice shards, if you were lucky. Again, I'm not saying this game doesn't look pretty. It's definitely one for anime fans. There's even an album section where you can go through and look at all your stills that you earned by progressing the story. You can go through the character models and check them out and see what the different outfits they have and all the different poses they can do. I mean, thinking back on it, a motion comic probably has better action and more scenes than this game does. It has the same kind of 5 backgrounds. It has the same kind of 10 poses for each character. It gets kind of dull over time. Like I said earlier, just, you know, it's a shame to say this, but play this in the English dub, and during the long, sometimes 1 hour, 2 hour long story sections where it's just dialogue, where you don't make any dialogue choices, you could really listen to this like an audiobook. I mean, you're really not going to miss anything out by just listening to it rather than looking at it or watching it, because like I said, it's just the same 5 backgrounds and the same 10 poses that each character has. One point in particular that really annoyed me was when I accidentally selected the flashback at the beginning of the game. I mean, that for sure could have been snippets from the anime, right? Because that was literally a flashback of the anime to catch people who haven't watched it in a while back up to speed. Seeing as I've drone on and on and on and on about how you can basically just listen to this game, let's discuss the audio. The audio is available in the English dub done by the English voice actors or the original Japanese voice actors. Now being apparently a sub-anime elitist, I stupidly chose to go for the Japanese voiceover, as I thought the game would be a bit more dynamic. I actually kind of regret that, because the English dub voice actors are really good for ReZero, and the voice acting for the new characters is really, really well done as well. The music in this game is kind of forgettable. It's nothing special. I don't recognize any tracks specifically from the anime themselves. It feels like kind of just generic background filler noise. And while a lot of the sound effects are pulled straight from the anime, such as the Return by Death, some of them I felt like they just kind of maybe got off of like a licensed website or for free that you could download. I could download myself for my videos. Now, obviously, the audio has to carry a visual novel just as much as the story does. And in this regard, I will say, other than the cheap or poor sound effects that weren't from the anime, the bog standard background music, the voice acting is really, really good. The voice actors did a great job. You will be engaged if you enjoyed the anime itself, especially the Japanese voiceover, although you will have to read subtitles unless you're one of the privileged few that can understand Japanese fluently. One day, Nando. One day. There's not much more I can say about the audio other than, really, guys, I would really, really recommend that if you are a native English speaker, do yourself the favor. Don't do what I did. Listen to it in the English dub. I always watch anime in the Japanese voiceover, but for this game, I really should have made an exception. Right, guys, here's the part of the review where I give you my very specific nitpicks, and I've got a few. While I might have made it sound out like I really didn't enjoy this game, I kind of did. As it's aimed at anime fans, this is pretty much like your extended or definitive cut of the Return to Capital City arc. It's a shame that we already have a director's cut, because I'd really, really love to see this fully animated in the anime itself, especially as it was overseen by the ReZero creator, whose name I'm not going to butcher for once. I already did that in the What's in the Box. The only real issue I had with the story is it plays it too safe. It's too intertwined with the original arc, and that means that the plot twists or surprises just aren't there. When the villain finally reveals themselves, you're just kind of there like, oh no, it was you all along. I never would have guessed. This is going to be a really random reference, but if you've ever seen like the Rogue cut of X-Men Days to Future Past, where they just kind of insert Rogue into the overall narrative, and then they decided to cut her out because it made no sense. That's kind of what this is, because by the end of the story, the game tries to wrap things up in a way where it can just continue on with the witch cult and the Archbishop of Sin. So it might as well have been like, it was all a dream. And the characters also act like that. There's kind of this collective, we can't talk about that kind of thing at the end of the game that makes it kind of like, what was the point of all the events of this, of the game? Like, what? It doesn't also help that it roughly took about the third loop, I believe, before the game really starts to deviate at all from the main story arc of the anime. So yeah, I would have preferred as well if maybe it happened a bit sooner. In terms of gameplay, again, it would have been great if we had some more dialogue options, especially in the sections that are unique to Prophecy of the Throne. Some missions have like fail states that you won't expect as well. Could have had a few more of those thrown in, especially with the whole return by death mechanic. The final act of this story, the loop 5, is brilliant. That's my favorite part of this game. It kind of almost redeems the rest of the visual novel, but not quite. It's a bit too little too late. I would give this game a silver star. Definitely worth picking up if you're a fan of the anime or the light novel, if you enjoy visual novels. Like I said, this is the definitive version or retelling of one of the main and most important arcs in Season 1 of ReZero. Definitely pick it up maybe on your Switch or your PS4, PS5 when you see it on like a sale from Japan or Big in Japan sale. The new characters are great. The new story is really good. It's just a shame that the way it's told, the boring visuals, the lack of choice and any kind of actual meat or gameplay to this game, and the sadly railroaded and predictable story, or at least story conclusion, marks this down from a gold to a silver. So guys, have you played Prophecy of the Throne? Did you get the collector's edition I sadly missed out on because of Brexit of all reasons? If you enjoyed the review and found it informative, give this video a like. Let me know in the comments as well. Are you a ReZero fan? Will you be picking this up after this review? Have I changed your mind? And always subscribe for more videos, more what's in the box, and more collector's editions unboxings. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Unless I die and return by death by the time I'm done recording this and then have to do it all over again.